Bill Shireman has been called a master of environmental entrepreneurism. He's resolved conflicts between some of the world's largest corporations and environmental activist groups. He's forged global partnerships to help save the world's forests and forged the coalition that led to the California Beverage Recycling Law. In 1996, Shireman joined with Mitsubishi Electric America and other Fortune 500 companies to create a business network called the Future 500 to demonstrate how companies can profit from sustainability, stimulate innovation, and drive waste towards zero. The author of many articles and books, Shireman delivered the keynote address on the future of business and the Future 500 at a recent conference hosted by the Ethical Leadership Program at Ripon College.
Future 500, our organization, we resolve conflicts between two groups that love to fear and demonize each other. On the one hand, global corporations, the familiar names that you all know in your homes. And on the other hand, activist groups that love to name and blame and shame those companies for all the world's problems. We work using a systems approach, we call it. Feedback and adaptation. We find out what makes those companies, those activist groups, the politicians and others tick. What is it that motivates them? We don't blame one side or another for a problem. We find out why they behave as they do. And then we find creative ways to re-motivate, to re-channel their efforts so that they can solve problems. We work in 4 areas: climate, resources, water, and people, human rights and labor rights. And we find key problems, and we try to organize the stakeholders to those problems, everyone that has a stake in a solution, whether the solution harms them or helps them. We bring those folks together, sometimes literally, sometimes just over the phone, and we find ways to align those interests with one another. And the power to do that is extraordinary. I'm going to tell you 3 stories in a little bit about how we have brought warring factions together to solve problems, to put their battles behind them. Before I get to that, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how we got to where we are. The reason that I would like to recruit your power to move us forward is because we are at a point of transition, an inflection point in history. We are beginning, and we have been really for the past generation, beginning the transition to a whole new economy, built on a whole new foundation. There are 3 drivers to this change. Number 1, the end of oil as the prominent, dominant source of economic growth. Number 2, the rise of information as the new primary catalyst to growth, a new kind of growth. Growth that isn't so dependent on consumption, growth that's dependent on learning and experience and diversity. Whole new set of qualities. And finally, the spread of globalization, so that we now will either fail together or succeed together as one world. Those 3 drivers are powering this transformation. This 3rd revolution, if you will, the revolution, the first being from the hunting and gathering economy to agriculture, a sustainable system for providing food. The 2nd revolution, from agriculture to industry, the industrial economy, the capacity to use machines to extract more resources than we ever could before. Essentially a hunting and gathering system, but on a global scale and an extraordinary scale. We were able to hunt and gather more resources than would have been possible under any other system. But there's a limit to hunting and gathering. And now we're approaching the point where we must transition through a 3rd revolution, the sustainability revolution, to an economy that renews its food, energy, and materials, an economy that has the capacity to carry us into the future. This is an exciting moment for us as a species because this new economy has the capacity to provide prosperity not just for the 800 million that are currently rich, but for the 5+ billion who are equally deserving of prosperity. It has the capacity to create more value, more prosperity using fewer resources. And it has the capacity to do it long into the future. Standing in the way before we get there are 3 bubbles, if you will. We're all painfully aware of bubbles bursting lately and the pain that can ensue. There are 3 bubbles, 3 ways in which we are exceeding our limits, 3 ways in which we're going deep in debt to the future. Those are the economic, the environmental, and the social. We talk about those 3 spheres as the triple bottom line. Those of you who are new to the concept of sustainability, you may hear this term, the triple bottom line, and what does it mean? Triple bottom line means that in order for society to prosper over the long term, we need a healthy environment, a healthy economy, and healthy people. When you maximize for just one of these, you take away from the others. And you can't sustain that over the long term. People need a healthy economy needs a healthy environment. Sustainability is that point of overlap between those 3 spheres. It's the point that identifies those actions that simultaneously help grow the economy, make people healthier and more prosperous, and to protect the environment at the same time. That's what sustainability is about. That's the simplest description, and that's the activity that we're looking to advance. There's another way to look at this, maybe more accurately, and that is as a set of concentric circles or nested systems. You can say that in order to be healthy, people need to be nested in a healthy economy. And for an economy to be healthy, it needs to be nested in an abundant environment. So these 3 systems are mutually dependent. You can't sacrifice one without sacrificing the others.